I'll make you feel something real just to bother you. Now I got you. Under my thumb like a drug, I will smother you. I'll be the one, be the moon, be the sun, be the rain in your song. Go put that record on if you want to. I'll be the one, be the tongue that will swallow you. Shame, 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 shame. This is the Community Solutions Podcast. Jason Bradley, Andrew Richter, deep from the bowels of our underground lair. And we are not currently on vacation with both a case of beer and a case of COVID like some certain people from down in Texas. How you doing?
Annoyed. Just annoyed.
Yeah?
Just still upset the last few days. Just very angry.
Yes?
So,
Well, have you been watching water polo or something?
no.
Okay.
Personally, I'd rather
Yes.
the United States finish last than send the people we send.
Well, it depends on the. Some of them are very honored and proud to be representing America. I'm all for those people. I am not for the people at all that went there to have their own agenda.
Yeah, go move to China is kind of my answer to that. But, here's the thing. I honestly can't recall the last time. You and I talked about the Olympics.
Mm-hmm. On your podcast.
Yeah, recently.
Yes.
And nothing in my mind will ever top the 92 games.
Yeah.
With the Dream Team and with I got into the volleyball team. Remember I told you they all shaved their heads after a bad call, and they used to be on at like 3 a.m.
Yeah.
And I don't know why people aren't as into them. I mean, I was into Michael Phelps when he was making his, I want to say 2008 was the first year he won everything. There are a few other things. There was the gymnast who tore her Achilles heel. I can't remember her name.
Strug.
Yes.
Yeah.
And, so, I mean, there's been times here and there, but just nothing tops the 92 games in my book. And maybe part of it is the world's smaller now and international players come here to play all the time. And maybe it doesn't feel, and maybe, with all due respect, there's still countries I can't stand and want to see lose. And I think people don't have that feeling like they used to be. I wanted to kick Russia's ass.
I still do. I still do.
I mean, I do.
This year especially, I am mad at Russia. Oh, my word.
But I mean...
No. They got disqualified because of doping.
Yeah.
And they're supposed to be out this year. And they're supposed to be out for the next Winter Olympics, and they were out for the previous Winter Olympics because
next
of doping.
Year, the next Winter Olympics is supposed to be in February, right?
Right, but here's the problem with that: there is a contingent of.
The Olympics are as corrupt.
Oh,
as
they are.
is.
All the Russian athletes.
Whoever is in charge of Wuhan is in charge of the Olympics.
All the Russian athletes are still there competing and winning medals.
Yeah.
They can't do it under Russia's name, but it says, what is it? ROC, it says on their uniforms with an Olympic symbol. And all it stands for is Russian Olympic Committee. and that's their crime. They can't have the Russian flag on their uniform, and they can't have the Russian national anthem when they win. But they've been quoted as saying, "Well, we know who we're playing for." I mean, they're nationalistic about their Olympic efforts.
Of course they are.
But we're running around dragging our butt like a dog that just has.
I just
tapeworms.
remember there was a year of figure skating where the Canadians, the frickin' Canucks, whined and complained about scorekeeping or something until they gave them a gold medal. I remember I watched wrestling and Kurt Angle made fun of it, and I thought it was a great promo.
Yeah.
But I was like, geez, really? I mean, even the Olympics, we got to have, touchy-feely class here, and everybody's got to walk away.
Oh, more than anything.
Got to walk away. Everybody was a winner. Everybody wins.
They are so tied in with the UN and Agenda 21
they're
that anytime they build for a new Olympics, I mean, it has to go through this rigorous set of environmental procedures.
And who's doing it? Who decides where the hell they are?
That's the Olympic Committee. They
And
take
who the hell is
bids
that?
from cities. Cities give bids to this committee.
Give bids.
Yeah.
Bid this. I tell you what, though.
Yeah.
I a little lighthearted, a little more lighthearted stuff.
Okay.
Okay. Jay, I ran into somebody yesterday with who snorted when they laughed. Hear me out on this.
Yes.
And I got to thinking of some of them, and this lady did not snort like at the end. Okay.
Yeah.
It was like, it was like that. Okay. Seriously. Think of your grandfather snoring, and that was the snort.
Yeah.
And I got to thinking of people. Do you know people that have, well, you can add TV if you want to. Think of the best laughs of people that you know. Okay, now I'm going to start here because there's two movies
Yeah.
distinct for their laughter. Okay?
Yeah.
Start with Revenge of the Nerds.
Okay.
Remember Lewis? Don't you
Lewis.
remember? Ah, jeez.
Yeah.
The guy with the glasses, with the guy who's the best friend of Gilbert, from the guy from ER. Don't you remember? Oh,
Gilbert. Oh, the Anthony.
It doesn't matter. You know this guy.
Anthony
I'm talking
Bourdain. No.
No.
I know. I screwed it up last time. Called him Anthony Hopkins. I had to screw it up again.
And then
Yes.
you mentioned the movie Good Morning Vietnam. Do you remember the guy who had the laugh where he had the I can't even do it. He walked up to Robin Williams and goes, "Say something funny." And Robin Williams like, "Dude, I don't know." Something like that.
That's right. He had like the Hawaiian shirt on, right?
He's
And,
been in 1,000 movies, and I can't think of the guy's name. But
Yeah.
I mean, it was just hilarious. You know anybody with a distinct laugh like that?
Oh, I don't know.
Somebody who just either busts a gut or they snort. But I mean, this lady could have sucked up a lamp or something the way she snorted. And I was trying not to be funny. I was trying to not be funny because I didn't want
Right.
to hear it. But I had to hear it. So it was pretty awful. But
Yeah.
you think of somebody with a good laugh, Jay, and we'll get back to that. But I want to say this too.
Yeah.
I've been listening to and watching on YouTube a lot of old Saturday Night Live clips.
Okay.
Now, I know we've talked about Saturday Night Live before,
Yes.
but do you have a favorite person or skit if you go back, whenever it was, whether it was in the 80s? And for me, the heyday of that show was late 80s, early 90s.
Yeah.
And then I watched it a little bit later with Daryl Hammond and the guy from Old School, Will Ferrell. I watched it a little bit later with those guys. I haven't seen it in up teen years. I have no idea. Couldn't tell you who. I wouldn't know. I'm so unhip. I wouldn't know anybody on it. Mm-hmm. So I mean, do you have is there like a person or persons who stand out, or a skit you remember that you just loved?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I know this is probably. I like to pick things that are. I generally like things that people don't pick as their favorites. Wow, that's a shock. I know, but in this instance,
what do you have? Brussels sprouts for dinner?
Yuck! No,
I hate anything green.
I don't hate anything green, but and Brussels sprouts with a little butter on them and a little salt. It's not my favorite, but I'll eat them. Anyways, the skit with Will Ferrell where he's the cowbell player in Blue Oyster Cult. Yeah. See, as a musician and a guy who plays in a studio, I love that one. I mean, that's a good one.
Now let me just. I'm sure we'll go back and forth a little. We have our favorites, then we name 100 of them.
Right.
Dana Carvey is my favorite guy who was ever on that show. And you can do anything from the Church Lady to McLaughlin Group to he does the best Paul McCartney impersonation I ever heard.
Yeah.
But the skit, honestly, and Franz and Wayne's World. And I don't know why. They're the dumbest things in the world.
They are, but yeah.
But I just
they were good though.
I loved it though when a lot of times one of those two skits would start the show. Mm-hmm. And it would just be like, Wayne's World, party time, Wayne's World, and Mike Myers. Okay, hey, yeah. And he'd always, And then they made a movie, 2 movies out of it.
Right.
Just, oh, God. I mean, they were pretty bad, but I thought they were funny.
Yeah, I mean, for Saturday Night Live movies, they were pretty good. Most of their movies are terrible.
Oh, God. Jesus. Oh. Just totally awful. But for that was okay.
Yeah.
I'll tell you another thing I often liked. This
Yeah.
had nothing to do with Dana Carvey. But I tell you what, I just remember when he left the show, and I'm trying to think of when that was. It's right around the time Phil Hartman left for that show he was on. We mentioned it.
News Radio.
News Radio.
Yeah.
They left the show around the same time, and then all those guys left. Farley and everybody
Yeah.
kind of left at the same time, and it just wasn't quite the same show anymore. But doing the news was always something that I found hilarious.
Yeah.
And my opinion, I know Chevy Chase, the guy who was, that was actually his idea.
Yeah.
He did it, and it was his idea.
Right.
And they've been copying it for 45 years now. But I thought the best person who ever did that, and this is non-political that I'm saying this, is Dennis Miller.
Yeah.
I thought no one topped Dennis Miller.
Yep. Kevin Nealon was pretty good on there, but
Norm
Dennis
Macdonald
Miller,
was okay.
Yeah.
But
Norm Macdonald.
the thing I loved about Dennis Miller is nobody laughed at their own jokes more than that was back when
I
he had the
know.
wild hair.
Yep. Yeah.
But Dennis Miller that was the only thing he did.
Yeah.
It's not the show that was it. He didn't do nothing else. And I'll tell you what, if I can give one more skit, and if you have another, throw it out there. Okay. Kevin Nealon, this is when Farley was kind of new on the show.
Right.
And it was kind of before he was like walking around breaking tables and, dancing with Patrick Swayze and all that stuff. Okay. He comes in. Kevin Nealon's playing a character called Mr. No Depth Perception. Yeah. Okay. So Farley walks in with whoever one of the women were on the show, and I can't remember. Victoria Jackson's the only one I remember from that time.
Yeah.
And then whoever played Pat, I can't think of her name. But
Yeah.
anyway, he walks in with one of them, okay? And I don't know if they're Kevin Nealon's daughter or whatever, but they sit down. So you remember, he's Mr. No Depth Perception. So he turns to the person next to him, the guy she brought home's pretty fat or something like that. It was like 10 one-liners like that, and it was just hilarious. Mr. No Depth Perception. Who comes up with that?
I don't know. I don't know, but that was, I think, some of the best comedians they've ever had come out of there came out during that period. I mean, you mentioned Norm Macdonald, and also Adam Sandler, Chris Farley, David Spade.
I love Phil Hartman too.
Yes.
Phil Hartman was great. They had a whole. I mean, I know we're forgetting some people, but Chris Rock was on there, and
he was good. I speak about him like he's gone.
Yeah.
Yes.
Who was the guy who was always making copies? What was him? He's hilarious on Twitter.
Is he? I don't know.
Hey, making copies.
Oh,
Rob Schneider.
Yeah,
he's pretty conservative too on Twitter.
Him and Sandler both.
Yeah,
and they're always in the movies together.
But Schneider's funny to follow, and he's got weird pictures and so on and so forth. But yeah, they had it was honestly, I mean, it was the best slate of people they've ever come up. And I'm too young to remember the Dan Aykroyd, John Belushi, Eddie Murphy days. I mean, I don't remember that. I did see some of them in, later.
Yeah.
And
it was funny, but I
but
didn't
I mean,
live through that either. So
it was kind of they went up and then down and then up again, and then I don't know.
It's not worth staying up for. It's become too political, just like everything else.
But that's
it's
supposed to be satire,
right? You make fun of both sides, but
like
they don't.
Late
They
night
just make
television.
fun of one.
It's like late night television. When it was Carson and. I mean, and then when Leno and Letterman were opposite each other and all that, and Conan after Leno, and now it's unwatchable.
Yeah, Colbert is terrible.
I don't like the. What's the other guy?
Jimmy Fallon.
I don't like him either. He's not funny.
No,
I mean,
Seth Meyers.
I don't like Kimmel. That's the guy.
Oh yeah.
Like. But I mean, here's the thing. I look up. Jimmy Falloon is hosting. The Tonight Show, the same Tonight Show that had Johnny Carson and Jay Leno, and he's the host now.
Well, he was on NBC, so the guy from NBC, nepotism. That's how it works.
I mean,
I don't know.
There's nobody funnier than Jimmy Falloon. Really?
He might laugh at his jokes more than Dennis Miller, but they're not funny.
I just can't believe that's my choices for late night television. I mean, late night TV used to be, I mean, it sounds weird to say that I loved, as dumb as it sounds, I loved staying up and watching it. I liked the competition back and forth because I liked Leno and Letterman. And sometimes I'd flip back and forth, and I like Jay more, I guess. But Letterman had his funny bits, his top 10 and his I remember one time there was a Q&A or something.
Yeah.
And he was asked whether he liked his mashed potatoes with or without lumps. And he goes, with lumps.
Dropping stuff from the ceiling of the or the roof of the building. I mean, it's just dumb, but
But
funny.
it was funny. And jaywalking, that was one of my favorite things to do too. I mean, it was funny, but I don't know. It's just there's no. You're right though. It has become. We have all these protected groups now that you can't. Anytime you tell entertainment that there's 1,000 things you can't talk about,
Right.
You squish any creativity at all.
And you've got some of them that fight against that, like Dave Chappelle's fighting against
Yeah.
that. And
I think he's funny.
And Nick DiPaolo, say whatever I want, I don't care. And
But the
they're
corporate-
kind of uncancelable. But
But the corporate people, and that's who's on TV. That's who runs it. There's six
just-
companies that
there's no
control
humor.
the media.
I mean, humor is supposed to be about finding kind of the truth, what people are thinking but won't say, and there's none of that anymore. It's like you can't
know what
say
they
that.
need?
You can't say that. Remember that show? You can't say that on television. That's what television has turned into, is one big marathon of that.
Yeah, you know what we need? We need the blue collar guys to host something. Get Foxworthy, Ron White.
Yeah. Larry the
Get her
Cable
done.
Guy.
Yeah, Larry the Cable. We need those guys to host something.
Yeah.
I would take a night of Jeff Foxworthy over anybody.
I would like to see guys like Chappelle and DiPaolo and those guys who just don't care get together and start working together to break those barriers.
No, what they need is they need to go on somebody who has an independent network. That's where it needs to go.
And
because
I think to a point, I know they're each kind of doing their own thing.
do it on Netflix. Do it on.
Well,
do it on,
Chappelle was, I
Oh,
thought,
was
or
he?
HBO or Netflix, I think. And I don't know if they canceled him or not because of his stance on things. I know that.
But even people I'll go back to somebody I'm not the biggest fan of, but they've done it to people on the left. Bill Maher was a person who they took off the air because of comments he made about, I don't remember what he said, but, I didn't agree with them, but okay.
Don't agree with him on anything.
I know, but free speech.
Hardly anything.
He makes good points sometimes. And I actually think he's humorous, actually. I mean, the biggest thing I hate about him is his hostility toward people of faith. And that's the biggest thing I can't stand. But, he's entertaining at least. At least he tells a funny joke once. And he's not afraid to speak his opinion. But he got taken off of, what was it, ABC or wherever he had a late night show.
Yep.
And, it's kind of like, okay, they put the kibosh on one of their own.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's... And that was kind of the start of that crap. And boy, being a comedian today has just got to be difficult because I would be somebody, if I were a comedian, I would let loose on everybody, and I think it was hilarious.
Yeah.
And I do think it's funny.
Well, we don't pull a lot of punches here.
No,
either.
we don't. But we don't have writers either.
No, we don't.
And maybe that's another thing too. I think people who come up and stand up are the people who make the best hosts because they can perform, they can read an audience.
A lot of them were writers, and so they don't need that per se.
Yeah, but now with network TV, everything has to get
right.
Leno's told stories about this where everything has to get cleared through and it was a lot different in the 90s than it is now.
Yeah, well, that's always been a problem though. I mean, I know when the Doors went on Ed Sullivan's show, they were like, you can't say girl, we couldn't get much higher because that wasn't acceptable at the time, right? And then he went and did it anyways, and they were furious.
They didn't have the delay, I don't think, back then either.
No. I mean, he did it, and then they were freaking out. So
half the people didn't even know what that meant. So
well, I don't even think it was a drug reference.
Yeah,
I know,
it probably wasn't. But
well, with the Doors, you never know. But in that instance, I don't know that it was. But it was. It's always been an issue, and I think there needs to be, when you're having things for public consumption, I mean, there has to be, I think, some standards. You don't want people running around during family hour. And
yeah, I mean, there has to be, but at the same time, late night stuff.
Yeah.
Here's what I go back to. I always take everything back to professional wrestling.
Yeah.
Okay. WWF, which I still call it the WWF.
Yeah, that's fine.
Owns their own network.
Yep.
Okay. They don't need to be on USA. They don't need to be on anything. And they stifle the content. You remember when it was a free-for-all on WWF? They did whatever they wanted. They didn't care. Okay. Now that they're a public company, wham, off go the, you can't say this, you can't do this, you can't make fun of this group, can't have this kind of character, can't have blah, blah, blah. And what do you get now? You got a lame-ass product.
Yeah.
You got a product that where everybody's worried about saying the wrong thing, which in professional wrestling is do the opposite.
Right.
Okay. Now it's a portfolio now. That's what professional wrestling's become.
Yeah.
And so,
the heels are bad guys because they're mean.
Yeah, well, yeah.
It's never about, the Iron Sheik was always waving the Iranian flag. And,
can't do a show like that.
Can't.
Because the Iranian American touchy-feely group will come out and bitch about it. You can't make fun of, I remember when, I know you hated the Genius, but I loved the Genius, Lanny Poffo, and he ran around and acted gay.
Yeah.
That was what he did. Now that's, no way you could do a character like that. You couldn't do a character like Yokozuna anymore.
No.
Because he's Gorilla Monsoon. You say he's Pearl Harboring everybody. Well, what is that? I mean, can't do that. So it's like, what can you do? It's like there needs to be a list of what can you do. You can have the Red Rooster against the Brooklyn Brawler. There's your main event now.
I don't think so, because that's saying that black people need to be in Brooklyn or whatever.
He was a white guy.
Oh, wait, I got him confused with the Harlem. What's that guy? Oh, Bad News Brown.
Yeah,
sorry. Yeah. Okay. Never mind.
Right.
I guess
you
can't
have that guy from Harlem anymore.
Yeah.
Oh, just anyway. I don't know how we segued on that.
I don't know. America is a broad and beautiful place, and it's got diversity from coast to coast, and we have done such a bad job when it comes to whitewashing everything, that everything is just pablum and nothing has any significance, any beauty, nothing stands out. Every corner, every small town has a Walmart. Every corner has a Walgreens. You have the same 5 restaurants in every town. It's become terrible. I mean, there's nothing that stands out. We might as well incorporate the United States of America and just get it done with, because that's where we're headed.
That's what everybody wants, the cookie cutter cities. The houses that look the same, the streets that look the same. Not
me. I mean, when I go on vacation, I want to try food I haven't tried before. I want to have a different experience. I don't go to Los Angeles so that I can have the Bloomington, Minnesota experience. With waves. I don't want that.
Well, yeah, I mean, why do you go to a place like New York or a place like Chicago or a place like Texas? I mean, if everybody's the same, then there's nothing good or bad about anyone.
Right.
Everybody's a shade of gray. Every place is,
Yeah, and I know this leads into what we're talking about today, that cultural differences are amazing. And that doesn't make us so different that we can't get along, so different that we can't work together with each other and love each other. Those differences, I think, should be celebrated. And instead, it's like, if you notice a difference, oh, you're evil. You better not. Although
Well-
they sit and call out differences all day long. Well, Whitey's this, Whitey's that.
Sure.
And I don't mean black
Christians
people.
this,
I mean
Christians that.
especially liberal white people
Yeah.
are doing this.
The white guilt.
And
Well, hold on, though. You're seeing that, too, and I bring COVID into it.
yeah.
People talk about vaccination rates. If you look at now, if you watch CNN,
Yeah.
you'll think it's a bunch of southern states and a bunch of hicks with 4 teeth who voted for Trump. If you look at vaccination rates,
Yes.
the lowest vaccination rates are among blacks and Hispanics.
Yes.
Okay, and what blacks voted 86-14 for Biden, 85-15. I mean that's what I mean. Trump actually did better than a lot of Republicans had in the past, but he lost by a huge margin. Hispanics, I think he lost something like 60-40. They're not his base. They're not the people not getting vaccinated. There is some of that, but there's also people who live in the middle of nowhere who don't come into contact with people very often and find it unnecessary to do.
Yeah.
If I'm a farmer in the middle of frickin' Missouri and I come into contact with 5 people in a month, I can understand how somebody could not say, I don't need it. Mm-hmm. So, whatever. It's your personal choice. But you're seeing it here, too. Who's being blamed? The honkies. That's who's being blamed. Again.
Yep. The unvaccinated white conservative Christian people.
Yeah, you damn Bible thumper. I mean, that's who's standing in the way, spreading misinformation. And unfortunately, there's so many people out there so stupid that they just regurgitate that. And the big lie becomes the truth. Mm-hmm. The big lie always becomes the truth if it's said enough times. And it goes unchallenged.
Yeah.
So there you have it. But you talk about cultural differences. I think the problem with that is I feel anyway, or think I should say, I don't feel, real men don't feel, that other cultures certain cultures are kind of being shoved in our faces. You know what I mean by that? Like certain agendas, and I don't necessarily want to call them out here. They know who they are. But, whether it's a personal opinion you're supposed to have or whether it's you can't say this about that group or whatever, and we're going to monitor what you say and blah, blah, blah. That's what I hear when I hear culture, equity, and inclusivity.
Well, it's because of the people driving it, though. I mean, this is critical theory, not just critical race theory, but dealing with gender, dealing with sexual orientation, dealing with any group that they can make feel like they are oppressed and that there is an oppressor. You all of a sudden have this friction. And you have to set the oppressor straight. And you have to hammer that oppressor until they lay down and stop. And then you can put in your Marxist government because all of a sudden you have no more resistance to it.
Well, yeah, I mean, and people have become so scared to speak out against things they just, I haven't, but
yeah,
I can understand how some people, there's businesses out there before they hire somebody. They go and check your social media and they check your, they check things like that. Mm-hmm. Google you on the internet.
Yeah.
We've all got something out there.
Yeah.
Now, you Google me, you'll find pages and pages of radio shows. Same with you, written things and blah, blah, blah. It's pretty out there.
We don't hide.
Yeah, I know. So it's gotten to that point where your job is threatened if you hold certain opinions. Take what President Biden is trying to do right now. He's trying to force all federal employees to get vaccinated.
Yes.
You take a experimental stop and think. And we've said this before, but that violates probably 1,000 laws, many of them which Mr. Biden voted for while he was a senator. And he's not only thumbing his nose at it, but he is bullying people, threatening them. At first we were told, and I don't want to rehash all this, but 1 minute it was When the vaccine got Operation Warp Speed, it was made fun of. It'll never work. Trump's in charge, blah, blah, blah. Now, all of a sudden, it's the complete opposite. Now you get it or else.
Yeah.
And of course, they know who's gotten it and who hasn't. They
Right.
got all your records. They got all the info on you. And I think people, especially people who've had COVID, really do not need to be vaccinated, in my opinion. I've seen nothing that warrants that. And to threaten them, I mean, here are the same people who, if they're a federal union member and they screw up at their job over and over and over, who's there to fight for them? Where are the public unions in this? Mm-hmm. Saying, how dare you threaten my employee if they don't take an experimental drug? You're going to fire them?
Yeah.
And of course, they're cowards, hiding under the desk like they always are, the wimps, wusses, sitting there towing the line for the Democratic Party, wondering why their union shrinks every day and loses credibility. Mm-hmm. I mean, the teachers who bullied us, the teachers who butted in front of the line to get the vaccine are now demanding masks in schools. Yeah. Screw you. Just screw you. I mean, I just wish everybody could take their kid out of public school. I just wish they could.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's just... All right, I went off again.
You know, I've got a plan for that. We'll have to talk about that someday.
You got the plan?
I have a plan.
What's the plan?
I have a plan.
I look forward to that.
Yes.
Okay, but this goes into now we're talking about cities getting into this, school districts, blah blah blah.
Counties,
counties, whoever. Of course they are. You know, we have to have same thing everywhere. Once again.
Absolutely.
My adopted hometown of Plymouth, which is not my hometown, but I'm adopting it because I've lived there for a while now, have a new division of diversity, equity, and inclusion. Now, can I ask a dumb question just to start?
Okay.
What is the problem in Plymouth that we are trying to solve with a diversity, equity, and inclusion leader, or whatever you call it, manager?
I don't know. That
I mean, are people coming to council meetings demanding an equity, inclusivity, whatever you call it, whatever word is made up?
I don't know. I mean, last time I checked, Plymouth has quite a bit of high density housing. So and a lot of single family housing, and a lot of medium density housing, a lot. So really,
there's 60,000 residents.
Wherever you fit in, you can find a place to live. I know they like to say that the house buying experience is racist, but really, I don't think the bank really checks what nationality you are. I know there are those questions.
And if they did, it would probably be an advantage to be a minority, not a disadvantage.
Right.
They probably get tax breaks or something by like veterans certainly do. I mean, you're asked that question all the time for a reason, because technically it's illegal to ask those questions, but there are exceptions because there's tax exemptions. The person who is leading the new division is named Laurice Reed. Listen to this. This is from newsbreak.com. Reed will work with citizens, community groups, municipal officials across all departments to promote inclusion, stimulate debates about fairness and diversity, and cultivate cultures that value all points of view, except white Christians, to build a stronger community. Reed will collaborate with citizens in... Oh, wait, I already read that.
No, you didn't yet.
By the way,
guess
where Reed has worked last?
Minneapolis?
Minneapolis.
Oh, ding, 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 ding.
We're bringing Minneapolis out to Plymouth.
Good. That's good for you.
Huh?
Enjoy all that.
Yeah, and there she worked as the division's racial equity program coordinator. You know what, Jay? I got into the wrong line of work.
Yeah?
Because
I
I could
got into the equity
absolutely,
business.
I could BS with anybody on this.
The thing that really bothered me about that job description is to stimulate debates about fairness and diversity. So it sounds like a solution in search of a problem. It's like, I'm not going to handle the things that come to me. I'm going to go out and make those things happen.
Yeah, and also I think when you have somebody there whose job is that undefined, okay?
Yes.
I mean, that tells me that you're right. You're searching for something, but you're starting from the premise that there's a racial problem here. There's a blah blah blah, and nobody can identify. I've gone all through Plymouth's crap, and I can't identify what problem is trying to be solved here, and that's a problem because when you have no goals, when you have no accomplishments that can be explained in English. Okay, I mean, like here, I'm hiring you to get our sales up 5%. You know your job. I made it clear to you. You go out and get it done, and we'll get there.
Right.
Okay. If you get there, great. If you exceed it, wonderful. If you don't, okay, let's stop. Figure out what we're doing. What is the goal here? Do we need to hire somebody to facilitate a discussion? I'm sorry. Can nobody else speak?
Yeah, I don't get it. But, this Paula Carlson that wrote this article at Newsbreak did some hard-hitting reporting. Even though Reed began working in April and has already made a significant contribution, doesn't say what that is, so we're left to the, imagination. The new program will require time to establish the necessary foundations. And Reed will spend the next 3 months reviewing the city's mission, vision, policies, and practices through the lens of diversity, inclusion, and equity. How about we just view them for what they are?
Yeah, I know.
Rather than taint them with,
well, again, look at it this way.
Why would we see them on a slant?
You're saying something's wrong with these. Here's somebody to get us to change them. And this, I'll tell you, the next sentence is even scarier. Writing an action plan, making recommendations to the city council, and forming relationships with various stakeholders and interested organizations would be among her responsibilities. You know what that means? That means unelected little side groups that are now have an in with the city. Okay, I got my racial, whatever cities Jesse Jackson is running around or Al Sharpton now has their in. They're going to be viewed as a stakeholder. It's going to be some group that wants to defund the police is now going to have an in to City Hall.
Yeah, and if you guys are saying, "Oh, Andrew, come on,"
there's a lot of people saying that.
Yeah, let me give you a real world example. Our hometown, Crystal, Minnesota.
Sure.
They have not hired a racial equity coordinator there, and there has been a push from a community group there led by an atheist that does not like Christianity or Christians. He's white, of course, a white liberal that, they're in favor of all of this critical race theory and, critical transgender theory and critical sexual orientation theory and all of that. And they've been dialoguing with different companies and organizations within the city, trying to work their way into like the Crystal Frolics and, talking with the fire department and the police department.
Really?
Yes. And wow. There's been discussions that have been facilitated by a consultant that the city had to hire to try and work all this out. But they really have one goal, and that is to implement CRT and other types of critical theory into everything. And they're really, that's all they're interested in. And they have not been, good to work with as far as the city goes. Militant, demanding.
Tell them to read the city charter that just does not show anything that the city should be doing that has anything to do with that.
And you show me where anywhere in the city that there's really a race problem of any kind.
No, it's assume there's one.
Right.
And if there isn't, stir one up.
Mm-hmm.
You know, try to create one.
Right.
I mean, there are people who literally make a living trying to divide people, trying to 2/3 of the politicians. I mean, try to keep people angry, keep them playing the victim, keep them feeling like they're down. Somebody's oppressing them. The reason you're not successful is not because of you or any bad decisions you've made or anything like that. It's because you're not able to. And I read a lot of that into this article here, that there's some sort of there's something wrong with the city's core values or mission. Why does the city need a damn mission anyway?
Your mission should be fix the roads.
Yeah.
Keep the parks clean.
Arrest the criminals.
Arrest the criminals.
Put out fires when they start. Okay? It's not that hard. I mean, I don't mean to make fun of the people who build roads and work hard doing it.
That's your job.
Yeah, exactly.
That is a city's job.
Plow the winter.
Yeah.
I think if those things must be going well, though, to do this stuff.
Right.
In fact, I think I'm going to email the Plymouth City Council.
Yeah?
I think I'm going to ask a lot of the things you're forewarned there, you guys, that because I'm interested to hear their answers.
Yeah.
I'm sure it'll be the wishy-washy BS that you normally get, but maybe I'll read them on the air and see if I even get a response now.
Yeah. Well.
I mean, I may not, but this is a solution in search of a problem.
Yeah.
But look, and I'll tell you what else. I just wonder too how many this person's not getting paid $30,000. Okay. I mean, let's just be honest here. This is probably a $90,000 a year position.
Right.
That they're getting to facilitate a discussion. I mean, I guess I shouldn't laugh about it, but it's like, we can't talk about if something. You know what also bothers me, Jay, is that this is the kind of stuff where there is real racism out there.
Absolutely,
there is real discrimination out there, and when you make it petty like this,
yes,
okay, you dilute and you ignore, you turn your back on real hate because it is there. It's a lot less, I think, more less and less, but it is there. And, I don't understand. I come back to this. What is the end game? Show me a tangible result.
Yeah.
From this.
I mean, do you really think it's less, though?
Yeah, I think it's less.
I mean, because
it certainly said less.
I think on the conservative side of things, I mean, you've always had like the skinhead Nazi people and whatever.
They're not conservative.
Well, they're not really. They're
the
seen that way.
Nazi Socialist Party.
Yeah, we know they're on the left.
I don't care if they're the left or the right.
Yeah,
they're.
But I mean, you look at history and where has racism been? I mean, it throughout all of Reconstruction, you had more black state legislators that were Republican.
Yeah.
Than than we've ever had since. I mean, really, and.
It's gone backwards.
Yeah, it's gone backwards. But the people on the conservative side are still very much, I think, wanting to see people of color succeed, wanting to see them achieve the best, wanting to make sure they get a hand up, not a handout, so that and see their families stay together and all of that. And then instead, you have people like, the Ku Klux Klan, which was started by Nathan Bedford Forrest, a Democrat, people like LBJ and Woodrow Wilson that were wildly racist, probably the two most racist presidents we've ever had.
I'm not going to put LBJ that far.
He used the N-word all the time.
Yeah, but that was acceptable in those days. He also signed the Civil Rights Act. I mean,
Well, only because there was pressure because he vetoed the first one.
yeah. Well,
They had
President. Remember, he laid out President Kennedy's agenda. It was Kennedy who originally proposed
But
it.
to quote him, I mean, we have to throw the blacks a bone so that worst things stay the same.
See, this is something I'm careful of. I don't judge people in history by today's race relations.
Right.
You can't do things like that.
Right.
I mean, you can look up the word Negro was something used by damn near everybody till the 80s.
No, but I'm just saying, you look at his motives. He didn't like them. I mean, his signing of that Civil Rights Act was only
he was
because,
born and raised in Texas, right?
Yeah. It was only because he, Democrat Texas at the time. It was becoming more Republican back then, I guess.
Yeah, in fact, I think the first time they voted for Eisenhower, but I want.
Yeah.
You got to remember, Texas wasn't the state that it is now.
No.
It wasn't the second biggest state in the country. I mean, it's very different.
Yeah.
Hard to believe, but.
But, I mean, his intent, I mean, he really did not like people of color, and that's the sentiment of let's just throw them a bone, to save our party.
There was a political strategy there, especially against Barry Goldwater, who felt the Civil Rights Act violated the Constitution and voted against it, and it was used against him and against the Republican Party.
Right.
And Nixon's Southern strategy, which has been so misunderstood and labeled, it was aimed at George Wallace, who was a segregationist,
Right.
not at black citizens.
Right.
It was how to deal with Wallace and combat his
party. It is racist. I mean, it might now be racist, in intent against white people mostly, but I think that also it is still racist against black people because they're trying to keep them down by offering, now they're getting into universal basic income.
But see, in the liberals' mind, that means that they're not racist. Their mind is that if you give them other people's money, it shows how much you love them. If you want to outlaw any words that offend them, then that makes you know what I mean? They don't view racism the way other people do. I view racism as looking at somebody and thinking they can or can't do something based on their race, their gender, or their parents' occupation, putting a label
or they're
on
good
them.
or bad.
Right, putting a label on them and treating them accordingly. That's what I see. That's the racism I see in public schools. You put a kid that kid's family life, with all due respect, it's not the school's business. And they take a label. Oh, you got free and reduced lunch. We'll lower your expectations. Yep. Oh, you're from, your dad's not around. We'll lower your expectations again.
Yep.
The reason, if you don't succeed, okay, it's not on you, because an education is something you earn. It's not on you. It's because somebody's systematically holding you down.
You show up every day, we'll graduate you.
Yeah.
We might
Social
even graduate
promotion.
you anyways.
Yeah. They don't want those.
Just don't drop out.
They don't want those low rates.
Right.
Yeah. And even those are skewed based on when someone drops out.
Yeah.
I mean, there's games played with those numbers.
But I mean, this is seeping into the schools too. Robbinsdale, for instance, huge school district. But I know like Anoka-Hennepin has equity and diversity coordinators as well.
Biggest district in the state, of course.
Toya Stewart Downey named Executive Director of Strategic Communication, Equity, and Inclusion.
What was that name again? Repeat that.
Toya Stewart Downey.
Guess where she's from?
Minneapolis.
St. Paul.
Oh, okay.
Close. The sister. Sister. And once again, I mean, we have an undefined job here. I mean, Miss Stewart Downey will be a natural fit as we commit to ensuring fairness, equity, and inclusion. Funny how they all say the same thing. As essential principles of our district. Hey, don't bother educating anybody.
Right.
As long as everybody's included and everybody gets a trophy, that's what matters, said Stephanie Barrange, interim superintendent, whatever. How do you pronounce that? Barrage? Interim superintendent of Robbinsdale area schools. Her experience in school communication, serving the diverse needs of students and families, along with her passion Ensuring the voices of all families will be heard will serve our district well. What, the school board can't do that? Hear everybody's voice. What? We don't want critical race theories. You're clearly not listening. So,
Yes.
What? So, I mean, just...
What? She earned a certificate in diversity and inclusion from Cornell University. That's a thing?
A certificate.
Well, she's got a bachelor's and a master's from somewhere else. So I'm not saying she's not educated.
She went through the diversity training there and got a certificate.
Some of the most... the dumbest people I know have the master's and the PhD, or as a friend of mine calls it, the post-hole digging certificate.
I'll tell you what, too. If you look at District 196, what is that, Egan?
Yes.
This is the patch, the Egan patch.
Egan, Rosemount.
This is bad right here. Listen to this. So they're new. Once again, we have hard-hitting reporting here from Morgan Redenskop.
Rent-a-cop, I think it is. Morgan Rent-a-cop.
This is some hard-hitting reporting.
Yes.
Independent School District 196 hired a coordinator of equity and inclusion, Violetta
Hernandez Espinoza.
Violetta will join the district's new department. Now it's a department directed by Virgil Jones. So we've got a director and a coordinator.
Is that Ted DiBiase's?
Yeah, I was thinking about that. That's Virgil.
Yes.
The bodyguard, Virgil. By the way, that was a play on Dusty Rhodes. You know that? Because Dusty's real name is Virgil Runnels.
Yes.
Or his name. He's since passed on. But listen to this quote. As a social justice advocate, let me stop right there. That's a problem right there.
That is.
Your job's not to be an advocate.
Nope.
You are in education.
Yes.
You take your advocacy on your own time. You do not bring an agenda here.
Maybe advocate for higher standards and some good food in the lunchroom.
Yeah. You don't like the bouncy chicken? I believe that true positive societal change rests in creating equitable access for opportunities for underserved communities. This position gives me the opportunity to continue that work and improve blah, 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 blah. Okay.
Yes.
Think of everything that's wrong with that statement there, and there's a lot.
There's a lot. Yes.
You're a social justice advocate looking at this as an opportunity.
Yep.
Now listen, she said nothing about children learning.
Nope.
Nothing about them improving their education. Nothing about making them a successful adult. It's all about getting in their heads and getting them to think certain things.
Yeah. I mean, she believes that true positive societal change rests in creating equitable access to opportunities for underserved communities. Job done.
Yeah.
Everybody's got the same opportunities. This is America. Job
everybody,
done. You can retire.
Everybody can get a high school diploma for free.
Yes.
Okay, it doesn't cost anybody.
And if you really apply yourselves, you might get some scholarships.
Listen to this.
Yeah.
In 2016, became the Education Legislative and Policy Director of the Minnesota Council on Latino Affairs, in which she advocated for Latino Minnesotans. The district said she also led a legislative effort to address the shortage of teachers of color. The district said, well, I mean, so that's what we're going to be doing here. That's what this is all about.
Yeah.
Getting those chocolate chips in that vanilla shake. I mean, earth to you people in education.
Yeah.
You cannot, a teacher is not a job. It's just like police. You don't walk in, fill out an application, and get a job.
Yeah.
It requires a high school diploma, a college degree, okay, for starters.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Often you are a student teacher for a certain amount of time. You don't just walk in and say, okay, we need more chocolate chips in this vanilla shake. Doesn't work like that.
Right.
So why are you sitting here in the school district? What you ought to be doing is advocating for these kids to graduate, stay in school, quit playing the victim, and the kids aren't doing it. That's the thing. The kids aren't. The adults are.
Yep. And here, I have a solution to this problem. Did you know
Jay,
that,
you
Andrew?
have an evil smile
no.
on your face.
I have-
No. Everybody ought to know you're giddy like you're going to eat a big steak dinner. What is...
I have a community solution for Ms. Espinosa's problem.
Okay, what's...
If you want
We
more,
are community solutions,
we
so
are.
we do offer those things.
And this one's for free, okay? So take notes. Go get a pencil and pen.
Why
I'll
don't
wait 2 seconds.
If we can come up with more ideas than her, we ought to take at least a percentage
All
of
right.
her salary.
That's true. I agree. All right. So, you want more diversity? Go lobby for school choice.
Yeah.
Huh? Then people from underserved communities can go to any school they want.
Can't have that, then you can't control them.
It's one or the other. You want to control them or you want diversity? Huh? Which is it?
You know, I'll tell you one of the things that concerns me when we talked about this, when we talked about police reform, is dumbing down the standards for a teacher.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I see in the future, and granted, I may talk out of both sides of my mouth here because one of the things, but I'm really not. One of the things I advocated for back years ago was the alternative teacher license. And
Yes.
we didn't get that in Minnesota. It was watered down in Minnesota. But some states, Colorado was one back when Republicans were in charge of the state. I don't know what it's like now. But there were other states. Governor Pawlenty originally proposed it, and it passed under Dayton, but it passed watered down version of it that still put the Board of Teaching kind of in charge, and I think they put a little bit of the kibosh on it. But one of the things I advocated for was people out in the real business world taking 6 months off and coming in and teaching about their experience.
We've talked about that on some of the old episodes.
Yeah, and wouldn't you love to get, if you're interested in accounting, wouldn't it be beneficial to you to take a class or a CPA is teaching it? Not somebody with a degree who's never worked in the private sector since they were making shakes when they were 16.
Right.
I mean, and I'm not making fun of them because they do know a lot of book stuff. But if you're interested in being an attorney, wouldn't it make sense to take a law class and actually a lawyer was teaching it?
Yes.
I mean, and so I'm a big advocate for something like that. And I think it makes things better. In fact, I actually think that, again, if we put the kids first, not the adults, and I think too, people interested in being teachers. Why can't a teacher have a class on being a teacher?
Right. Maybe if we
Here's
had
what you have to take in college. Here's what lay it out for people.
If we had a little opportunity for kids to do career exploration, I was going to say exploitation, career exploration, but that's something else entirely. That we'll talk about that on a different podcast.
We sure will.
Career exploration before they even think about signing up for college. It will help them know if they need to go to college, which one they should go to, what it entails. Heck, it may help them to kind of cut out some of that aimless wandering that happens, or going through college and going, oops, I just spent $100,000 and I don't like this.
Yeah. Getting a degree in Native American basket weaving, and then you go out and start working as a waiter. Yeah, there's a lot of that. But I mean, I always think of this example is, and I remember I had a college professor who told me this. Do you want to be a lawyer because you know what a lawyer does and you know what they do every day, or have you watched 1,000 reruns of LA Law? What is the reason?
Yeah.
Do you have a passion? Do you have a group you advocate for? Do you want to prosecute? Do you know what they do? Do you know what case research is? Do you know what, I mean, and 9 times out of 10, it's not for a reason like that.
I mean, I think through high school, I mean, it should be mandatory to take an elective. I mean, let that simmer in your head a little bit. To do career exploration and to check out 5 different things that you're interested in and see which one pans out. You
and
know?
it makes sense. I mean, we expect kids who are 19 or 20 to know what they want to do for the rest of their lives, yet we don't give them any insight into that until they're 19 or 20 and they're actually studying it.
Right.
And you get halfway and you're like, well, I have to keep going. I've spent so much money and I've blah, blah, blah. I mean, what do you do at that point?
Right. You know, and I think I was a rare exception. I knew since I was a small child I wanted to be a musician. But even there, you know, I let my family convince me, well, you better have a fallback. So, you know, you put the education piece in there as well. And then you start teaching and realize this was a mistake. You know? And
how old were you when you taught? How old were you that year? Were you in like your late 20s?
It was a couple
mid-20s?
years.
Okay.
So I was, yeah.
Well, did you do that here?
I would have been
yeah, you did
mid-20s.
that in Minneapolis. Yeah, you were here by then. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, I did some stuff. St. Louis Park, Hopkins, Minneapolis, stuff like that. Yeah,
I tell you,
Minneapolis full time after I got that full time gig.
I just
band,
remember thinking I wanted to get into business, and I love business, but here's the problem, and I've said this on the air before: high school did not prepare me for college, did not prepare me for the real world at all.
Right.
And I'm not ripping. I had good teachers. I did learn a lot of book stuff.
Right.
But I've said this before. I never did homework in high school. Never took a book home once.
Right.
Ever. I don't remember doing homework. I don't remember study hall. I effed around. I do not recall doing work.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll tell you what, now I'm exaggerating a little bit because I was in advanced math.
Yeah.
But math came easy to me.
Yeah, not me.
And history came easy to me. And I was recommended. I had a teacher, Mr. Swenson, and he said, you know, you're acing this class and you sleep through it. Why don't you, there was another teacher named Mr. Schmidt. He goes, I can talk to Mr. Schmidt if you know, and I think he talked to my mom, too, at conferences. You know, Andrew really, you know, should be in the upper. But, and I remember my mom and dad trying to encourage me to do that. And I just said, you know what? My answer to them basically was, I don't want to work that hard.
Yeah.
I don't want to be in a class where I have to work. I'm getting an A in this, and you're happy with it. You're not complaining. So I don't want to do it.
Yeah.
And so I didn't.
Yeah.
I was in English class. I could write BS with the best of them.
Yeah.
Okay. I was in literature, never read a thing, did well. Watched the movie. I don't know how I got through it. I really don't. And I was an honor student to graduate with. I have no idea how.
Yep.
And I spent all my time having fun. Okay.
Yeah. I spent most of my time playing guitar, you know, and I was in the National Honor Society, and I
got to college, boy, and
Yeah.
it was boy, you could not do. I remember thinking, okay, tell you what, I'll pick a night and study. That was my new thing. I was going to pick a night.
Yeah.
I'll pick Sunday night.
Yeah.
Okay, first week of school, God, the Saints are playing the Redskins. The hell with it. It was.
Oh.
So I mean, but you know, your bad habits go with you.
Yeah.
Today I would be very different because I can, you know, working 70 hours weeks, nothing. But,
Right.
I mean, back then it's not cutting into my softball time. No way. You know, it's not doing that. So I mean, but to circle back, I mean, to this stuff. One of the things that I think, and we talk about education with these equity coordinators, is I go back to the labeling of kids.
Mm-hmm.
I go back to the expectations, and everybody who is succeeding needs to be challenged.
Yep.
Everybody who we have to stop prioritizing feelings.
Yes. Agreed.
Okay, in the real world, we don't do that.
No.
Okay,
Not yet.
Not yet, but we may get there someday. But we're not right now. I know plenty of people who've lost their jobs for not performing. And it may be to varying degrees and all that. I mean, I don't want to, get into that, but things that aren't documented and blah, blah, blah. But you're doing nobody favors by labeling them and changing expectations based on race, gender, economic status, so on and so forth.
All right. And
if you're going to, I told the story about not having the bonehead class, the middle class, and this is what we used to call it back when I was in school, the bonehead class. You have the bonehead class for a reason. This group of people needs help.
Yeah.
And if you throw them in with everybody else, they get lost in the because you feel bad or because whatever, then they fall further behind. Mm-hmm. They're in the bonehead class because they need, or the low, whatever you want to call it, because that's where they're going to get that extra attention to catch up.
Right.
Okay. And stuff like this equity coordinator will walk right in and go, no, we can't have that. Because we all know what's going to happen. The classes are going to get racially segregated again. Mm-hmm. And we can't have that. We got to have cultural inclusivity.
Yeah.
And that will be the priority, not student performance. That comes after that. Everybody's feelings will be first.
Yeah.
And what do you want to bet in the city? Same thing. Well, we're going to have to prioritize, we're going to lower the standards so everybody's wins, everybody's happy, everybody's equally miserable,
right.
Which is usually the result. But again, you go district to district, city to city, and you will see the same language, the same. I mean, once again, we're the conspiracy theorists, Jay.
Right.
Yet we see the same thing everywhere.
Yeah. Minnetonka has a diversity, equity, and inclusion task force where they've gathered a bunch of people together from all over the city of varying backgrounds, and it's charged with working collaboratively. I hate that word. To engage the community, broaden policy outcomes, and respond to the community's needs, views, and expectations. I don't know what that means. That's a whole lot of saying nothing. And so their job is to advise the city council on best practices in other communities.
Of course. So you're going to take Minneapolis' stuff and put it here.
Identify potential community partners for activities to leverage resources. Identify short and long-term goals. That should be maybe your first step. If you don't have goals, I don't know what you're doing.
Well, but again, you're back to being in search of a problem here. You're back to trying to find a problem or invent one,
right? And
then redo everything based on it,
right? Bloomington's doing the same thing. They have something on racial equity and inclusion.
How about Washington County? Washington County.
Washington.
Community's anti-racism work group. So basically, Washington County's racist.
Right.
That's the premise.
Yes.
Why would you need an anti-racism group if you don't have a racist county?
Right.
So you clearly do. Mission: eliminate racism and promote cultural diversity and inclusion. But where have I heard that before?
Everywhere we've read so far?
I think Washington County came up with it first.
Oh, do you?
I think so.
Really?
Everybody else ripped them off. That's what I think. Now, how much of it, Jay? Like I said, we need to get into the race business. You know how much of a consulting fee whoever came up with this crap? We should come up with something like an acronym and get it trademarked.
Yes.
Make up more inclusivity. We got to make up our own words.
Yeah.
Let's make up some touchy-feely words. Maybe we'll think of them for like next week or something, and come up with these, and then we'll make them an intellectual property, and then we'll go work as consultants everywhere and they'll have to pay us a fee.
It's a lot of work doing something I hate.
Yeah, well, but if there's enough money in it, I can hate anything. But Vision Community Services will provide a welcome, inclusive environment. Really? You ever been to a county office before?
Yeah.
Okay, the welcoming, inclusive environment. See the post office.
Yeah.
For about what going to a county office is like.
Or let's take it to the county level. I mean, the post office is federal. Let's take it to the county level. Try calling Minsure.
Yeah. Health and Human Services. I know. Your call is important to us.
Yes.
Here's some more elevator. Here's some more of Tony Bennett's greatest hits you can listen to while you're on hold. For 3 hours.
Because of COVID-19, wait times may be longer than expected. Really, after 2 years, you're still not expecting them to be as long as they are? Because I'm pretty sure you should.
They're going to focus on internal staff competence. Boy.
Well,
you're just starting to focus on that. Okay. And recruitment as a way to increase internal diversity and better serve our clients. I got an idea. Like you said, pick up the damn phone when somebody calls. Doesn't matter if it's a black person calling or Hispanic person calling or a transvestite calling or whatever. I mean, or gender fluid. I don't care. Pick up the damn phone when they call.
Yeah.
Now, anyone can do that.
And then know your stuff when you answer the phone. Don't like guess and then hang up and make them call and go through another 45-minute wait time to get to you.
Yeah, I don't know. Hang on. Hey, Bob, I got somebody on line 5 about a little, court date or something like that. That's, don't do that.
You get off the phone, find out it's the wrong thing, or because they have 700 phone numbers for things, you get the wrong area and they transfer you somewhere else. 45-minute wait. They transfer you somewhere else. 45-minute wait. It's ridiculous.
Stand there with your phone plugged in the whole time. Goals. Listen to the goals. Promote effective dialogue. Where have you heard that before?
Everywhere.
There's just not effective dialogue going on. We're just not talking about race enough.
No. Oh, we need more of that.
Yeah, we need more effective dialogue. Really?
Maybe we should have more.
You need an entire
dialogue
department.
About how we're not separate. We're not that different.
Yeah. Foster a learning environment. I'm sorry. The county's job, and I go back to a city's job.
Yeah.
You have mandated jobs from the state of Minnesota.
Yep.
County roads, public safety, the court system, health and humans. You know what they are.
Yeah.
We've talked about them
Right.
for 5 years on this show. Fostering a learning environment. What? Who came up with this crap? Improve hiring and retention of racially underrepresented staff. Let me see. Yeah, I want to go get a job because it pays more or it's better or blah, blah, blah. I mean, people don't go somewhere and work somewhere for 30 or 40 years anymore.
No.
That's very rare, actually.
Well, except in government.
Yeah, and I mean, so what? If Whitey wants to leave, we'll just let them leave. We don't care. That's the attitude now. But if
We'll hire Whitey if nobody of color shows up and fills out an application.
Probably. Only then. Otherwise, Whitey need not apply. Promote our commitment to diversity and inclusion. Oh, wow. That's just wonderful.
Yeah. Oh, yes. Going back to the job thing for a second. I mean, have you noticed on TV? I mean, look at the commercials. They look a lot different than they used to. Now,
this is a county that's 86% white, by the way.
Right.
So maybe their workforce should be 86% white, represent the county.
Maybe, maybe not. How about you just have the
best people do it, exactly.
No matter what.
Foreign concept.
If you have 98% of the people working there that came off the boat from Sri Lanka, more power to you if they're the best people.
Exactly.
Have at it. I have no problem with that if they're the best people. If they're all from Mozambique and they're the best people, then hire them. But to say we don't have enough of XYZ,
check those boxes.
Yeah. How about we just try to increase the number of people that are good at their job? Because no matter where you seem to go, there are people that stink at what they do. And it's not a racial thing because there's plenty of white people that stink at what they do.
There's plenty.
Yeah, and most of those people that stink at what they do probably went for an underwater basket weaving degree at college. Stuck working a drive-through. And
Probably. I mean, we're working at White Castle. Seeing you come up to the drive-through every day.
White Castle. Once in a while, it's the only thing that does it, but it's very rare. It's like a once-a-year thing.
God, give me a gas station sandwich over that.
Well,
Hey, some are good. Quick Trip or something like that.
Yeah, that's true. I remember eating at one in Iowa after a gig once, and the next day, all the way home, I had stomach pains. All I had was like a couple of jalapeno hot dogs and a thing of popcorn. It was not good.
I can just see that in your stomach right now, dude.
Education too, Office of Equity and Inclusion at Minnesota State. So it's not just our local
college.
Yeah, it's college too. I mean, they're the ones who started pushing all this stuff.
They started the choosing people to enter based on not on ability or on grades or anything like that. And by the way, when you talk about college, who says that you have to go to a 4-year institution for 4 years?
The people that push 4-year schools.
Yeah, but I mean, we have community colleges. You can go part-time. You can, like I've said before, if you look at jobs that are in demand, a lot of them, or where there's real shortages are in the trades. I mean, there's we're not doing a very good job of getting people in the right spots.
No.
Or, where the demand is. But yeah, colleges are really guilty of this.
Oh, there's probably not a good one out there. And if I can, and I have given my kids this advice numerous times, my older two, my younger one still is a little young for this, but it's find what you want to do and pursue it with everything you've got, and only go to college if you have to.
I think a college degree is more worthless every day.
Yeah.
I'm not just saying that because I don't have one.
Yeah. I guess I don't say go to college only if you have to. I say if it's the right thing for what you need to do, then by all means, get that education. But otherwise, don't do it just to do it.
Yeah, I think though, and this is only my opinion, because I think you can discover what you want to do in a school. I think people should pursue an education of some kind after high school.
Yeah.
Whether that's a place like Dunwoody, a tech college. If you don't know what to do, go to the local community college.
Yeah.
Go there for a semester or two. What's the harm in doing that?
Even those, though,
are getting bad. But, again, there is still some value in going to those.
Yeah.
And I would just encourage people. People can go online. They can they have a lot more options than they used to have.
Yeah.
Even when you and I were in school, which wasn't that long ago in my book. Okay. So, I mean, to me, I feel like it's something worth pursuing. Especially, I think the people who float around never get back on a goal and on a, it's like you got to have some structure in your life, I think.
Yeah.
And if you end up just working part-time, laying on your mom's couch, sitting on your phone all day, the further you get away from that, the harder it is to set a goal and get back into something.
Yes.
So if you figure it out while you're going to, community college, great.
Yeah.
But I think you got to pursue something.
Yeah.
Maybe it's an internship. Maybe it's an apprenticeship at some place.
Yeah.
There's just so many options out there. Maybe you go to school part-time and you work full-time. I mean, I did that for a while. You could do a million things. There's really no excuse to do nothing. I guess that's that's what I fall under.
Yeah.
Frustration with some young people today.
Yeah, I agree.
And of course, they were there when I was in school too, but
yeah,
seems to get worse.
But all of this, I mean, I know we're going a little long here. Not yet, but we're on the verge of that.
We're going to wrap up soon.
This is not being like we've said, that they don't come up with this at the school board level. They don't come up with this at the county level, at the city level. This is being pushed by groups outside of the state. If you look at the National League of Cities, and we've talked about the Minnesota League of Cities a bunch, or the League of Minnesota Cities, this is the parent group of that group. The League of Minnesota Cities is a chapter organization of the National League of Cities.
Well, and add to it, school boards associations have all adopted this.
Yep.
Believe it or not, there's a lot of private places that have adopted this too. I mean, chambers of commerce have equity statements.
Yep.
Banks have equity statements when they
it's getting
hand out
worse
loans.
in the corporate.
Yeah. In
absolutely.
the woke areas, I mean, there are
the ESG scores. I mean,
Yeah.
if you're going to have a bad S score, a social score, if you do not start doing things in the equity realm,
yeah.
And that's what they say. I mean, that you go look on the World Banking Forum website, and it talks about it. National League of Cities put out, and I'll link this on the blog, so make sure you check that out at commsolutionsmn.com, a repository of city racial equity policies and decisions. So it's a whole document you can download, and just in their synopsis here, talks about local government infrastructure for racial equity, creating a home for racial equity in the city, and it gives a case study from Minneapolis, of all places, Race and Equity Division Ordinance.
Hilarious. A place that gave us George Floyd
Yes.
and a summer and have had the most violent year.
Yeah.
More kids have died in Minneapolis that have died from COVID, from the lawlessness
Right.
and violence there. Yet they're a case study for these idiots.
And this is from back in 2017, before George Floyd, and it's still listed up there to see how their efforts have failed.
yeah.
That's what this case study does. Failure. Minneapolis, you get an F.
No, you get a Z. They get a Z.
So it lists that case study from Minneapolis. It lists Austin, Texas, Oakland, San Francisco, Denver, Philadelphia. Talks about budgeting for racial equity.
Why do we have to list cities that used to be great all the time?
Yeah, I don't know.
When I went to Denver, I loved Denver.
Yeah,
And now it's become, what's it become? What's going on there?
yeah. I don't know. Budgeting for racial equity. So that's a thing. All of our cities are entering into budgeting right now.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so
Preliminary budget
Yep.
in September.
yes. So for the cities that are taking these equity people on, these equity advisors, there's going to have to be increased taxes so that they can budget for
Well,
this
and
stuff.
everybody's going to have to go through their touchy-feely class and all that, and that's going to be dropped on us, the taxpayers. I mean, we're going to pick up the bill for this.
Charlottesville, Dallas, Baltimore, Boston, Iowa, Arlington, Texas. These are not all liberal places that are doing this. Baltimore, St. Paul. Austin, again, Philadelphia, Montgomery. Diversification of city staff. Work to diversify city workforce. Yeah.
You know what? There are not enough. You need to get more qualified people of color to do these jobs. You are not going to do this with a mission statement.
Right.
And here's an idea. Hire the best people.
Yes.
To earn your way into college.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But
I know they're novel concepts, but and nobody anywhere seems to embrace them today.
right.
The whole idea of earning anything.
Right. But why do you even need to hire people like this? But when you have National League of Cities that they list out all these city ordinances and policies that you can implement in your own city. Well, copy and paste, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
We should look at Plymouth city codes. They probably have a bunch of them.
yeah.
I'm almost afraid to. But just think, writing that into law, I mean, stop and think about that for a sec.
Yep. Reparations in Portland.
God, Portland. What a poop hole.
And the list just keeps going. Asheville, Providence, Evanston, Brookline, Chicago, Long Beach, Washington, D.C., Maryland, Albany. Yeah. Another Minneapolis. Declaring racism as a public health emergency.
Exactly. Now you got special powers.
Mm-hmm. Housing. Fair chance housing in Seattle. So...
Fair chance
housing. I don't have it with me. I've started to create a list of all the ways, not just because I was bored or
But
this
you
is
were.
but no, this is something that I'm going to start talking about with a couple of people that we've helped out. That all the different ways that critical theory, not just racial, but all the rest of it, all the critical theory, are touching our cities, so that we can start to pay attention to those things and start to understand how to interact with that. And how do I say it? I mean, show them the right way to do things so that it is equitable, right? So that truly equitable, not like these people say, but so that we actually do what's best for everybody, in everybody's best interest, and make sure there is equal opportunity, rather than doing these things where, we need more bike lanes because people of color don't drive. Yes, they do. Yes, they do.
Well, again, talk about a racist statement. People of color don't drive.
Yeah.
Obviously, people of color work. People of color go to school. People of color pick up their kids from football practice.
Yeah.
I mean, what are you talking about?
Right. Yeah.
People, they go to church.
Right.
They, they go out to eat.
They can't show ID to vote. That's racist. Wait a second. But most of them drive, and even if they can't, they have access to other things. Most of them have some sort of ID. Yeah, it is preposterous. I don't know. But anyways, I think it's important that we address these things, that we look at the ways that critical theory is touching our cities and come up with solutions rather than just sitting and complaining about it. Because right now, that's where conservatives are. They're back on their heels complaining about it. I mean, it's good. Parents should be going to city council and county board and school board meetings complaining about this stuff and saying, I don't want my kids learning this in school. I don't want the city being run like this because it's creating racial divides in the city. I think that's important, but you have to do something with that after you've done it.
I go back to, you remember the St. Louis Park Pledge of Allegiance incident?
Yes.
How it rallied the community and stopped temporarily what was going on. I go back to this. What was the follow-up? It was the victory was declared and everybody went home.
Right.
If you stop critical race theory in your school, great. But that's the start of this, not the end of it.
Everything comes back.
Or it comes back under a new name,
Right.
or it comes back quietly,
Yes.
piece by piece, So, I mean, I hate to say it, but this is a constant, never-ending, I don't want to use the term battle, but it almost is.
Right.
War. It's a war. Why don't we just call it what it is? It's a war of
Cold War.
Yeah,
but
it's a war for, and I mean, I just come back to letting kids be kids. I look back in my childhood and I was so lucky. My parents never involved me in adult issues.
Mm-hmm.
I can't really think of too many times, like maybe a little where I was, I don't want to say indoctrinated, but I look back on it and sometimes you can kind of pick an agenda here and there, but I don't recall it being. Now I look for that everywhere, and I think back, and I really wasn't. If I had a bike and a baseball glove and all that, I was a happy kid.
Yeah.
Chasing girls and blah, blah, blah. And kids today, it's like they can't do that.
No.
And giving kids a swirly in the bathroom. And I mean, that's the kind of fun stuff I did. And, now, I mean, it's so tense. I mean,
Yeah.
it's so. I don't know what the right word is. It's just like a powder keg. I don't know. Kids are already growing up too fast, and granted, of course, I wanted to grow up, but I mean, I don't know. I was allowed to be a kid, and it's just. I just feel like that's harder and harder and harder.
Yes.
And it's harder on parents, I think, than it's ever been.
Yeah.
And me not being a parent, I mean, I know it's been hard on you, trying to sift through all this crap and doing your own work and doing, I mean, it's not fair that parents have to do that. It just isn't. It's just not right.
Yeah, I mean, we shouldn't have to worry about where we're sending our kids, to get educated. And we shouldn't have to worry. I mean, we send them in good faith, and they're not acting in good faith,
But I do think, though, that we have ceded too much power to the schools, too.
Absolutely.
I don't blame any person in particular for that, but I do think the home is where everything is supposed to begin and end.
Yes.
Not the school. It's not the school's job
Right.
to teach your kid about the birds and the bees.
Nope.
It's not the school's job to teach. It has
Social issues, moral issues.
Yeah.
That's a home issue.
Yeah, it
Home
totally
issue
is. And
yes.
it's funny too because I go back to school and I don't remember social issues anywhere.
Yeah.
I don't at all. I
No.
do remember having discussions
Yeah.
in certain classes, but I don't remember an opinion being forced down my throat. I really don't. Maybe I got a better education than I think, even though I never did any homework. It's possible.
Yeah.
You ask my dad the next time you see him how many
Okay.
times he saw a book.
Yeah.
He would ask. Was one time I
Yeah.
remember because I told you the story about when he used to take the hedge clippers and threaten to cut the cable.
Yeah.
Because my mom and dad would not let me have a TV in my room.
Yeah.
And I really just wanted to watch the Twins, and nope, you got a radio, it's good enough. Listen to Gordon and Herb. That's what my dad used to say.
Yeah.
And we had one TV in the house in the basement. And guess who had the remote and wasn't giving it up?
Your
My
dad.
dad would sit on it, and he'd pass gas on it if you tried to take it. But I remember when I got into trigonometry, what you call pre-calculus now,
Yeah.
I struggled for a little bit. So I had never had to work at math,
Yeah.
ever. And I remember my dad going, because I'd bring home my bag, and my bag was always empty. And he goes, I don't see that math book.
Yeah.
And he'd take those hedge clippers and go up to that cable. Because when I bought I bought the TV with my lawn mowing money.
Yeah.
A little 13-inch Emerson. Okay? And
Yeah.
my dad goes, ha, 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 well, there's no cable going up to your room. So he made fun of it. He goes, all right. So him and my mom were like, all right, well, he got like a 3.6 last quarter. We'll try it.
Yeah.
But so he was always threatening to cut that cable. If I didn't, I better see a book home tomorrow. I brought it home, never opened it, but he saw a book. That was the whole thing.
Yeah.
The funny things parents used to be able to do.
Right.
That might be psychological abuse today.
Mm-hmm.
Threatening to cut off my TV.
Yeah. That's
Not letting me have a TV in my room. That might be child abuse
it.
today.
Might be.
All right, Jay.
Yeah.
We've talked enough.
Oh.
You haven't, because you still have one more segment.
Yes.
Because it's that time again. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, the women love them. The men are all jealous of them. Jet flying, limousine riding, wheeling, dealing, son of a gun. The suffering of Succotash, the Roddy of Piper. I once again, Community Solutions presents, with the sign-off sermon, Jason Bradley.
Thank you, Andrew. Yeah, that's a mouthful of stuff that we talked about today, I'll tell you. And it's touchy. You're so easily canceled nowadays, and so many people are scared to say anything. The only way we maintain our power is by continuing to speak up. Not that we need power for power's sake. There's enough of people like that. But we need to continue to maintain our freedom to speak freely. And that is only maintained if we don't give it away. If we give it away, we've already compromised ourselves, and there's nothing we can do at that point. So we need to continue to speak out. We need to make a decision that we are not going to stand by idly and let this happen to us. We should be filling up school board meetings. We should be filling up city council meetings. We should be filling up county board meetings and letting them know how we feel. And then after we do that, we should be taking action. Whether that is calling teachers regularly and keeping them on point, whether that is continuing to show up to those school board meetings or running yourself for school board, running for the city, running for a county board seat, getting on advisory commissions where you can keep an eye on what's going into your child's curriculum or what's going on in different departments of the city. See, that's what we need to do. See, we've got a problem. We have all of these children of color that are growing up, and they're kind of being pigeonholed into, you deserve a special advantage. And all the while, they're not getting challenged. They're not getting what they need to be the best they can be. Because I'm telling you, there are people of all races, people of all backgrounds that are super intelligent, that could create the next rocket that'll actually take us to Mars with passengers, that might come up with a cure for Ebola, that might come up with who knows what. It's not being white that does that. Heck, George Washington Carver alone shows us, that you don't have to be white to invent something new. And there's been lots of people before him and that have come after him that have done the same thing. And you know what? If you would take the shackles off of us, you in governments, you in these think tanks, you at the National League of Cities, you whoever's pushing this stuff in your special organizations, the Brookings Institute or wherever you're at, maybe we'd flourish again as a country. Oh, but that you can't be nationalist. You can't be talking about that. Being nationalist isn't bad. Being a national socialist is bad. Taking your nationalism to a point where you're coming after certain groups of people and you're putting people into prison and you're putting people into slavery and you're owning everything. That's bad. But where you're proud of where you come from and you're proud of where you live and what you do and you do your best every day and you try to exceed what those that have come before you have done, there's nothing wrong with that. Wanting to have the best solutions come out of the United States rather than some other country, that's not bad. Look what happens when China comes up with stuff. They exploit the rest of the world. Is that what you want? I don't want that. I don't want China leading the way into anything. I don't want Vladimir Putin leading the way into anything. I don't want it. They try to pave the way. Look at the revolution down in Cuba. This is about COVID. No, it's not. It is about what a poor job communists do. And yet you've got people who are elected into office in Washington, Democratic Socialists, and the Democratic Socialists of America are praising the Cuban leaders. We have everything flipped upside down, and I know you don't. You listening to this podcast, you know. But what are you doing to fix that? You cannot just allow that to continue without having some sort of input into the system, without having some sort of effort to overcome that in your own community. We are up against people that are playing for keeps, and they will not stop until they are destroyed. And I don't mean murdered. That's not what not what I'm saying. Until they cannot progress their way any further, or until we have been put down. And from that side, yes, I mean actually murdered, because that's what communists do. And so, a little tongue in cheek, but not really. The people of this country need to take an inventory of where we're heading, and we're heading there fast. We're on a bullet train. We're not on the slow slide to mediocrity. We are being tanked deliberately. We're like the Titanic that just hit an iceberg. We are like, I mean, nothing I've ever seen. Where progressives were slowly moving us in the way towards socialism over 100-year period, and all of a sudden it's just like, you know what? We're close enough. We're going for it. We're grabbing it. You've got Marxists, out and out Marxists, like the Obamas, like the people that surround Joe Biden, which 90% of them are the same people that worked for President Obama, like AOC, like Bernie Sanders, like so many other people. Some of them have declared their socialism tendencies, and others have not. But you got to look at what they're shooting for. We are in dangerous times. And this calls for something a little bit more than what we show during regular times. We just can't. We cannot play the same game that we played through the 80s and the 90s and even the early 2000s and expect to win. I mean, things started really changing and speeding up in the 2000s. And they've only accelerated since. And pretty soon, you're going to look back and it'll be too late to do anything, and then what? What do you do at that point? The only thing you can do is decide right now you're in. That you are not going to let the sun go down on America and send us into eternal darkness because somebody, somewhere, wants control. I mean, if you think there's going to be some sort of equitable and fair utopia on the other end of this, no. It doesn't matter what your skin color is. You're going to be suffering just like everybody else because they're using you. They are using you. They're using you to get what they want. That is the whole Marxist philosophy of critical theory. They use the oppressed, turn them against their supposed oppressors until they can overturn the system, and then they take control. If that's not what you want, then now is the time. Don't wait another 2 years. Don't wait another 4 years. We may not have anything left in 4 years. The time is now. Prepare yourselves now. Decide that you are going to do something now. Tomorrow, start a blog, start a podcast. But do something now. You want help? You want to figure out what that thing is that you'd be good at? Get a hold of us. COMMSolutionsMN@gmail.com. That is COMMSolutionsMN@gmail.com. And we will help you out. Help you get settled. Help you figure things out. We've been walking this for a while now. I think we've got our legs under us well enough, and we've seen enough victories through our efforts that we can help. But it's going to take effort, and it's going to take sacrifice. It's not going to be easy. You may get called names, and you may get canceled, and you might. But is it worth it to step up for your children and your grandchildren? To have an America left for them? Is it worth your job? I had to make that decision, and for me it was. So, follow us. And I don't just mean on social media. Follow us there, but follow us. Join us. If we band together, we are stronger than they are. We outnumber them. They do not outnumber us. We're counting on you because we love you, Minnesota.